All right. Hello, how's everyone doing today? Big day in the crypto markets. I can tell that you guys are excited for this one. Unfortunately, quite a few people have gone through some losses today, so there's a lot to go through. I'm going to be going through as usual with you guys, probably to start with what the worst case scenario looks like to me at the moment. Because I do think that things are a little bit shaky. What the worst case scenario might look like to me at the moment, how low we might dip. I'm going to be recapping some of those things as well. I'm also going to be talking about how the recovery might look, because I definitely think that we are getting a recovery at some point very soon. And I'm going to be telling you a little bit about the positions I'm taking. So before we get into all of that, how is the audio? How are the visuals today? I am trying to do a little bit better for you, and hopefully this is going to keep my face lit up. I am going to keep this up now, and yeah, let's just wait for some of your comments to come in. Let me know how everything is, if everything is okay. Thank you all for tuning in today and smashing up the likes as we're coming in. Fortunately, a lot of this doesn't actually take us by surprise. I did say that I was expecting Bitcoin to rise higher in the last live stream. However, I acknowledge the possibility of Bitcoin dropping even lower, and it definitely looks like that's what's happened here. It looks like Bitcoin has tumbled below the 50k level, and one of the key things to acknowledge here, in my opinion, right now, is that the fact that Bitcoin dropped below 50k, I think, already made it a little bit obvious that Bitcoin might end up taking a bit of a tumble lower. Just the fact that Bitcoin dropped the support, and like I said, you know, if you really do zoom in just a little bit more, you can start to see that, I mean, you know, if we've dropped below a support level once and we've recovered higher, but then we test it again, it's just not a good look. It's not a good thing in my opinion, and it makes it, you know, quite a dangerous kind of circumstance in the market, something that is a little bit concerning in my opinion. And okay, so the video isn't great, probably amp up the brightness a little bit. Unfortunately, I can't stay on this live stream for too long today, so we are going to have to rush it a little bit. I did have some tech issues before I started, and they are going to persist. We'll blame it on someone else, not me today. It was my fault, but anyway, what we're doing right now is again still concerning, because Bitcoin, like I said, it tested the support level once over here. It tested it again today, and this is where it broke. This is where I said if Bitcoin fell below 52 or 50k, I would start getting very concerned with this trend and expecting a big drop down. And I would actually expect this drop to go all the way down to $42,000, because here's the thing, ladies and gents, I do definitely think right now that we are in a situation where the market has already tested this support, and now we're testing it again right here. And it's the same as when we tested this support for the first time, and the second time we conclusively broke below. The first time it was just a fake out. Second time, this is a real breakout below the support level, and I think that we're looking at something similar right now. I think that Bitcoin has a strong chance of breaking down lower. And there's only really one thing that makes me think actually Bitcoin can recover from here, and it is the fact that we do have F2 Pool, which is the big mining organization or whatever, selling off a bunch of Bitcoin, and it's absolutely fine because we need these kind of pullbacks to make these trends healthy. And so when I say that I think Bitcoin is going to drop to 42k, it's not me saying that I think this whole uptrend is over. I obviously think this uptrend is going to keep going on, but I also have to keep in mind what the possibilities are for Bitcoin to continue rising upwards after having some very strong retraces and different things like that. Yeah, you thought I am speaking a little bit fast today, so I'm getting some comments about that, but like I said, I don't know how much time I have on this live stream today. I might only be able to go for about half an hour, so we are going to be blazing through this a little bit. I've just had a Red Bull as well, so I don't know, maybe that contributes to it. But I do definitely think that because we are testing this level again, we are going to drop below it. Because here's the thing, ladies and gents, I definitely think that what we have at the moment is, you know, we've broken what I consider to be a stronger support area around this level right here. I think that Bitcoin dropping below $52,000 to $50,000 was the strong support area that Bitcoin had, purely because this was the most recent previous all-time high. And I mean, this is better in terms of horizontal support. This is the thing. This support right here, this is better. There's more trading that happened here. Obviously, there's very little trading that happened over here. So there's more historic support to be found in this range for sure. However, I mean, look, we're performing some classic continuation patterns right here where we've ended up trending lower, and now we're just kind of zigzagging in this general area. I mean, we're really just kind of trading sideways a little bit right at a support level. And you guys know what happens when, you know, we tend to hug these kind of support areas. You know, when Bitcoin hugs a support area and it stays close to it for a long time, that is where we typically tend to start falling down. We can see, a few examples of that where we're really hugging support right here, for example. So Bitcoin falls below it, and it's the same with resistance. When we really start hugging resistance, and there are a few different examples, but I think a good one is just quite close to here. Bitcoin was really hugging resistance right here, and so it was natural that Bitcoin was able to break that resistance quite quickly. And I think the more time we spend around a resistance area, the more likely we are to break it. And equally, the more time we spend around a support area, I think the more likely we are to break it as well. So there's definitely a few things like that to be keeping in mind with this market right now. And seeing another, unfortunately, classic continuation pattern here, which indicates that we're going to be trading down, is a bit of a shame in my opinion. Just seeing that we've already formed these before. I've broken them down for you in the previous live stream, but let me talk about it once more. Bitcoin forming that classic staircase trend. You have that staircase trend in the market where the trend is overall moving down. You fight the trend a little bit, but then the market takes another leg down, and then you fight it a little bit, but again, it takes another leg down. We've seen that all over the trend. Look, we're fighting it a little bit, trending down, fighting it a little bit, trending down. And we've seen small examples of this. Look, this was right here. This was a small example of what's called a rising wedge. This was a small example. This was a slightly bigger one. And this was quite a big example of the exact same pattern. And right now, I think we're just forming something that's almost exactly the same, which is just a typical kind of bear flag, a bearish pennant, where the overall trend is overwhelmingly downwards. And we're just almost forming, a symmetrical triangle at the moment, which indicates that the market could be ready to move down by quite a bit again quite soon. And obviously that is something which I think is quite concerning, because we are trading at a support level. But I don't think that it's all that bad. I think that broadly speaking, Bitcoin still has some pretty good support. The thing to keep in mind, ladies and gents, is that Bitcoin ended up topping out at the $42,000 level on the 8th of January, which is a month and a half ago now, exactly a month and a half ago now. And at this point, Bitcoin triggered a pretty serious drop. This was a minus 28% drop, and it turned out to be a little bit lower than that at the lowest low. And overall, it took Bitcoin 31 days to set a new all-time high. So this is something we've been talking about on the channel for quite a while. It played into a lot of my key analysis. So if you have been subscribed to this channel, you'll know exactly what I was talking about, and you would have gained access to this content exactly as it was fresh and released. A lot of you guys making some very cool profits because of this analysis as well. So shout out to you. Thank you all for subscribing and hitting up the likes as we're coming into today's live stream. Just see where we are at today, by the way. Obviously this was a bit of an emergency live stream, but already got 900 of you in here, so please smash up the likes if you haven't already. It does help me out a lot. But right here, what we had, I think, was just a really big drop that happened because of the $42,000 resistance area, and quite a substantial mini bear market in this trend. When you're in a very parabolic uptrend and you don't set a new all-time high for 31 days, that's a big deal, because previously what's normal in this market is, look, you set an all-time high over here. This is the 9th of February, set a new one on the 12th, then set a new one on the 14th, and then on the 16th, and then 18th, you have a big breakout. It is normal to be setting new all-time highs in this kind of market. And so the fact that we didn't for 31 days from this high to this breakout, I think makes the $42,000 level very strong. Something that's a very influential point in the market, something that definitely holds a lot of bearing and a lot of power over the market. And I definitely think that that's contributing towards, Bitcoin potentially even being magnetically pulled down to this level. And fortunately, this is exactly where I think the rally could end up stopping and potentially reversing and trading upwards, because I think that because of those factors I've just outlined, this is a very strong support area. I can show this to you on the Gemini chart, where I already have some nice boxes drawn for you. I'm just going to tone down the brightness here, because it's shining in my face a little bit too much. I have started to become more aware of it. What we have right here is that same $42,000 area just drawn as a box right here, and I want to extend this box so that we can take a better look at what's going on right here. Extend it, yeah, something a little bit like this. And I think that this is going to provide Bitcoin with a lot of support. This support zone stretches between $40,500 and $42,000. Let me know if my face is too dark, by the way. I might have to dial up the brightness once more, but I do definitely think that between 40.5 and 42,000, there's definitely some good scope for resistance. And one of the best things about this, in my opinion, is if we look at this on a different chart, where actually we can just use this chart. If we actually draw a Fibonacci retracement from here, drawing this from the low that we set right here at about $29,000 up to the high, this support area lines up perfectly with some of our Fibonacci levels right here. So 0.618 Fibonacci retracement, which in my opinion is usually the most important level. This is exactly where we can expect to find some support right at the bottom of this green box right here. So I think that makes a lot of sense the way it lines up with support for Bitcoin. The 0.618 level, as we know, is one of the most important Fibonacci support levels in my opinion. The 0.618 level and 0.382 levels are exactly the same. They are mirrors of each other. My face looks perfect now. Okay, thank you. They are mirror levels of each other, and I think that because of that, you know, they're very, very important. And so seeing a pullback down to the 0.618 level is usually enough for the market to then end up trading very, very high. And there are a lot of examples where that rings true. I want to show you a few of them really quickly if you are new to the channel. This is an example that I show you quite a bit, but if you are new, then you wouldn't have heard of this before. And I think this is a very, very powerful tool to kind of forecast where the market might end up kind of retracing down to. So the way you would often use these Fibonacci retracements is just replay the chart for simplicity. The way you'd often use this is you would draw a Fibonacci retracement. By the way, you get the tool from the left hand side. You would draw the Fibonacci retracement from a low where a big rally begins all the way up to the top of the rally and then extend it to the side. And oftentimes what you'll see with Bitcoin is it will retrace all the way down to exactly the 0.618 level, and then it will trend up and never ever come back down to these levels again. So and that's what happened, because Bitcoin never returned back down to $2,900 from that point. It's honestly stunningly accurate how Bitcoin continuously falls down to, for example, these 382 levels. Look at this wick finding support here. Look at you know, this resistance that Bitcoin found at this level. Again, if we play the chart forward, we see some more interactions with the 382 level, and then we just never come back down to these levels. So this Fibonacci always, I think, playing a big factor in the market, getting some retracements at the 0.618 level, making complete sense. And the fact that it lines up with the $40,000 level right now, I think makes it a very realistic target. And, you know, going back to the analysis right here, I just think that the fact that Bitcoin has already dropped by so much, the fact that Bitcoin has tested, this is the wrong chart, the fact that Bitcoin has tested the support area now for the second time, and I don't think it's particularly strong, I think it does mean that Bitcoin is going to be dropping a little bit further. And so it's just a case of, well, where's the next support level? Because these kind of drops, they do typically stop when the market finds support. And, you know, there's a lot of different ways you can find support. I'm going to show you some indicators in a moment as well. There's a lot of different ways that you can find support, including the use of indicators. But for me, one of the biggest ones is just looking at where the crucial pivot points in the market have been, where the crucial big reversal points in the market have been. And for me, the biggest one on this chart right here is the $42,000 level, because of the substantial drops that it triggered and the time it took to recover back to this level. So this is a, I think, quite historically and psychologically charged level, and for that reason I do expect a lot of people to be buying Bitcoin right there. The good news, like I said, is that it lines up with a lot of different things. If we look at the Ichimoku cloud on the daily chart, let's take a look at this. Bam, right here, the daily Ichimoku cloud. It's very far away, don't get me wrong. It's going to be a long time until we see this, but it lines up with this very same level. If we look at something a lot more closer to today, the exponential moving average ribbon, look at where all of this support is lining up with the trend. I mean, it stretches all the way down to a low of about, well, $40,000, almost exactly on the dot, and we're trading in it right now. And you can see how useful it has been since October of 2020. So we're now 4 months later, more than 4 months later. This indicator still having a 100% success rate so far, where every time the price falls into this EMA ribbon, Bitcoin tends to get some very nice bounces up. So if you don't know how to use this EMA ribbon, then I have made a full tutorial explaining completely how to use this indicator, how to get access to it, different strategies, my favorite practices. You can gain access to that video by opening a new tab in YouTube now and typing this into the search bar. It'll take you 2 seconds. Just watch it after this live stream, because unfortunately, like I said, I don't think I can be streaming for a long time today. So go ahead and open that up if you haven't already seen my video on the EMA ribbon. It's one of the most powerful indicators in my opinion, and this video is part of the wider FORFLIES Academy courses that we have available to you, which you can gain access to by following these steps on screen. So you can pause the video here to get any information on that. But Moving back to the market right here, there is a lot of support. It absolutely came in clutch and completely saved the market earlier this year. And I think that it definitely has the potential to do something like that again. Just seeing how all of the support lines up with the $40,000 level right here, I think is a big deal. And, you know, I have to start asking myself some questions here where if Bitcoin does end up falling below $40,000, which means below this EMA ribbon right here, I think that means Bitcoin is going to enter quite a big bear market, and that's purely because this indicator right here is quite a powerful tool for gauging where the market might reverse. And I'll show you a good example of this, because when the indicator has a spread, which is to say when you can individually see each line, that's where it's useful. And if we look at when, you know, we end up dropping below the EMA ribbon, look, this was probably the most recent example throughout a good uptrend. We had a very nice spread. You can see how beautifully Bitcoin bounced off this EMA ribbon so consistently, so well. And then as soon as that flipped and Bitcoin lost the support of the EMA ribbon, it did trigger a very long bear market overall. This indicator stops being useful throughout this entire rally. And again, if you watched my video on it by typing this into YouTube, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. This indicator is useless this whole market. And so as soon as it fails right here, it triggers a really, really big bear market that ends up crashing Bitcoin all the way down to $3,000 at its lowest point, and it flashes bearish at about $10,000. So that's a really, really big you know, loss that it would potentially save you from if you were aware of the indicator at the time. And it's just little things like this where if you're aware of them, it can definitely be a game changer. Again, we can see it right here. As soon as the indicator fails us in 2017, which is right here at roughly a price of $11,000, it's just completely, it sends Bitcoin all the way down to $3,000 once again. So it really, when this indicator fails, it tends to trigger very, very big bear markets. There are small exceptions where the price falls below it over here or over here, but this is just short-lived. When the market has a sustained fall below these EMA ribbons, it tends to trigger quite big bear markets. And I have to ask myself, are we in a position right now where the market can have a sustained bear market? You know, is this plausible right now, in my opinion, for the market to start seeing some sustained drops in its price action? And I don't think that's the case. I definitely don't think that Bitcoin's anywhere close to that, purely because we're in a situation where we've already had that big retracement. You know, if we take off these indicators and we go back to some of the content I've been talking about in the previous live streams, once again, shout out to the subscribers who are tuning into this content regularly and hearing exactly what my thoughts are, because they've been spot on with this analysis as well. Bitcoin dropping by minus 31%, and then again, not breaking its all-time high for 31 days. These are a big deal in this kind of parabolic market. You know, when the normal thing is to be setting a new all-time high every 2 days, for example, when that's normal in this market, and all of a sudden we're dropping by minus, you know, 29%, we're not setting an all-time high for 31 days, that's a big correction in the trend. You know, when we're trading up with a lot of energy, this trend, it needs to correct. You know, there needs to be something that pulls its momentum back down to earth, and it just kind of, it grounds the trend so that the trend can rally up again. We need them, and we had a very strong instance of that happening right here. And typically when these kind of things happen, Bitcoin does tend to rally up very well. So, you know, I think that we're getting this drop a little bit, potentially even a little bit prematurely, and that's fine. It's okay, these things can come early, but I don't think that that means we're going to be triggering another, you know, extended period of trading downwards, purely because we've already had one so recently. And again, if we go back to the chart in previous years and I show you how it looked before, you can really see how this used to ring true in the past in markets like what we saw in 2017. I can bring up some very, very obvious examples for you right here on this market, where if we slap this onto the logarithmic chart just to analyze this a little bit easier, let's just identify where the major kind of pullbacks have been in the market. And you can see that we don't actually tend to get a lot of them during major bullish rallies. And so while we might get temporary dips like this right here, for example, it doesn't trigger, this right here doesn't trigger a more extended bear market like this over here. You know, these drops over here, they last in total, I mean, from start to finish, just 7 days, you're down by about 10%. And then these examples, they last about 30 days and you're down by about 40%. So you can see how usually, I mean, we don't get these big pullbacks very often. And there's usually quite an extended period of trading upwards between each of these mini bear markets. Look at this, extended period of trading upwards between each of these mini bear markets. Quite quite a few examples of that happening perfectly. And so the fact that we've just had one, I think, because the Bitcoin market right now is replicating a lot of what happened in 2017, I think that absolutely paints the picture right now for Bitcoin to be doing the same thing, where Bitcoin, I think, has a lot of potential to now be in a situation where, you know, this is just going to be a quick, easy pullback, and the market will continue rallying on higher again. And, you know, once again, I like to look for examples. Has this happened in the past? Is it plausible that this can be the case? And I definitely think that there is some evidence of this happening recently right over here. This is the same example that I showed you yesterday, so regular viewers will know all about this already. But Bitcoin topped out at $35,000, dropped all the way down to $27,000, which is a similar drop to what we're in right now. It's about minus 20%. And then Bitcoin just recovered on upwards, and since that time we have never been down to those levels again. So it is possible for Bitcoin to just have quick tests of these low down support levels. This was a previous all-time high. So again, like I'm saying, we fall down to a previous all-time high and we bounce off that level later on. That's exactly what we did here on a much smaller time frame. Look at this, a previous all-time high right here, price falls down to it, big bounce coming from it. So the characteristic is very much there right now. You know, all of the potential is there for this to happen at the moment, and I think that absolutely paints a very, very thrilling picture for the market to potentially end up trading higher and bouncing very, very nicely. This is the kind of thing that really excites me, because I think it means that there's a lot more upward potential in the market, and I'm going to talk to you in just a minute about why I think we're potentially going right back up to levels like $60,000 very, very soon. But you know, before I get there, one of the big things that's happening in this market is that a lot of people are losing quite a bit of money, and it's in stark contrast to what we've been seeing inside of the VIP group. I just yesterday closed out my long position. I knew that this market was potentially getting ready for a bit of a dive, and to put it into perspective, this is exactly where I opened my long position on Bitcoin. This is where I started to think that Bitcoin would trade up, and I closed all of my position right over here. So I did take profits on the way up. I might have taken profits here, might have taken profits up a little bit higher, but broadly speaking, I opened the position right here and closed it at this level over here, and it booked an absolutely beautiful profit for me. I know this is a very small range, it's only about 6% that Bitcoin went up by, but the end result was a 66% profit because I traded this on 10 times leverage. So as usual, I'm trading this market. I'm trying to pull the best results I can in the safest ways possible, and the post right here where I mentioned to VIP members that I'd be opening up a long position using 10 times leverage shows you where I was looking to trade this. And as with each position, I'll be giving VIP members the full updates on exactly what I'm doing, you know, how I'm taking profits, how much of my position I'm closing, updates on my stop loss and different things like that. Some of this might look complicated to you at the moment, but inside of our VIP group, we have a lot of tutorials that completely break this down so that you know exactly what I'm doing. I'm getting some questions about audio issues. Let me know if it's also happening to most of you guys or if it's just isolated. But we do have tutorials breaking down exactly how I'm closing my positions, even how I open them, and explaining the mechanics of these trades, because it's very, very powerful to be able to pull such massive profits in a market like this, you know, in quite small ranges, and that is down to leverage trading. So it's all going off inside of the VIP group. We're so close to 1,000 members. We're about 10 members away from reaching 1,000 members inside of VIP, and because of the huge demand, we are actually looking to potentially increase those prices back to something closer to where they were before Bitcoin rose massively. So as you guys might not know already, Bitcoin ending up rising very, very high has meant that we've reduced our prices. So our prices were about 65% lower than they were before this Bitcoin rise, and we are looking to potentially raise it back up to where they used to be. So if you want to get in on it, you want to pause the video and read these screenshots, fastest triple digit trade ever. Actually, we have quite a few new testimonials as well, which I just haven't pulled up. Let's see if I can pull one of them up right now. This one's pretty cool right here, plus 95% profit coming in very recently. Closed my smaller Bitcoin trade fully this afternoon at a 95% profit above. Still have 50% of my main Bitcoin trade on another account running an 85% profit. So this is exactly where the magic is. This person has pulled really, really nice profits, plus 95% profit. He's exercising good risk management. His stop losses are at break even or better. This guy is doing everything that's not sexy. He's doing everything that's not exciting, everything that's not giving him that cocaine, you know, thrill of trading that people unfortunately look for, and he's still making the money. So he's doing everything exactly as methodically as it should be, in my opinion, and he's still pulling really good gains. So this guy's been doing very well since he joined. Another message from the very same person, pulling £4,000 profit, choosing a guaranteed 4k gain over a maybe £8,000 profit, really showing us what good risk management looks like, which is super impressive. So if you want to gain access to VIP and see how these people have been able to pull these kind of results, you want to watch me trading in real time, I'll tell you absolutely everything I'm considering, how it goes from the consideration phase to the commitment phase, where I actually commit to a trade and then maybe I back out of it, or maybe I adjust the plan on the fly. I tell you everything I'm doing, as well as the reasons for why I'm doing them inside of the VIP group, and you can gain access to that content by clicking on the first link in the description down below, and then clicking on the @FORFLIES button at the bottom of any post inside of FORFLIES Gold. This is going to take you to a chat where when you click on send message, you can talk to me directly and ask me for all the information on VIP right here. This is how each of these people have joined, and just so many amazing screenshots. I've got so many more new ones. I'll just pull up a new one right here. This guy, obviously very exciting because he's new to the market. He's opened his first ever position going long and already secured a 52% profit, which is super impressive. Here's another one right here, plus 200% profit. Very impressive game right here. I think this is what, $1,400 right here. People wasting their time betting on football games, and all they have to do is watch Sammy FORFLIES on YouTube and take a risk right there. Bam, doing absolutely beautifully with 20 times leverage, pulling a 200% gain is absolutely killer. We've got a lot more. I just haven't been updating these because, to be honest, I think we're getting a little bit too many lately, but that's not a problem. I can't complain about that. Here's another one we got just yesterday. This person learning to use the indicator that I showed you a couple of minutes ago and doing very well with it, plus 130% profit. So there's a lot going on inside of the group, and it's all waiting for you to dive into. So I'm going to start going through your questions in just a minute. I hear quite a few of them. I want to acknowledge the sound. The sound that you're hearing in the background is the air conditioning unit. It's obviously, I'm in Dubai, so it's quite hot, and I don't want to turn it off. So unfortunately, I'm just going to be keeping it this way for a little bit. As we're going along, please do drop your questions in the comments. Let me know if there's anything in particular you want me to cover, specifically with Bitcoin at the moment. I will look at other things like Ethereum a little bit later. I do use leverage, and the reason I use it, even though I don't need to, is because if you were to put a lot of money into the market without using leverage and something goes wrong with your orders, you would stand to lose a lot of money. So let's say I have a stop loss at whatever random number, at number X. If my stop loss doesn't trigger and I haven't used leverage, I would lose all of that money that I put into the trade. Whereas if I do use leverage, I would stand to use, for example, I would stand to lose only 10 times less than what I put into the trade. And that's a big advantage of using leverage, which a lot of people just don't really know about. So I think that's very powerful. I see your questions about VIP. My assistant is here and she will get back to you very soon. But let's switch it back to the chart right here. I want to talk a little bit more about where I think Bitcoin is going, and like I said earlier on, where I think Bitcoin, how I think Bitcoin might end up recovering, because I do really expect a pump from this point. I think that Bitcoin could have a quick correction here because, like I said, we have had quite a slow trend already, and I think because we've had a slow trend, that really paints the picture for Bitcoin to rise very nicely as it moves along. And so if we do end up getting a nice bounce from this level, I definitely think that there's a lot of potential for Bitcoin to just blast right through this area. I would be very surprised if this area became resistance. If it did, I would become extremely bearish on the market. I would become very upset and scared in this market. However, I don't think that's going to happen. I think that if Bitcoin bounces off this level, we'll probably break this resistance. And as we go up, the resistance does actually get weaker because we've just fallen right through this area right here. And even though this was the previous all-time high, I think if we've gone all the way down to 42K, all the resistance up ahead is going to be quite easy for Bitcoin to break, in my opinion, because what we have right now is a situation where there's a lot of excitement that's just kind of been bottled up in the market. You know, a lot of people want to be excited in this market. A lot of people want to feel thrilled and completely, just grab the bull by the horns and ride it. But at the moment, there's a lot of fear, and that's why we're seeing such steep drop-offs. This shouldn't take us by surprise. If if you've been watching any of our recent live streams, and thank you to all of you who have been tuning in regularly, and of course hitting up the like button, it means the world to me, as you already know. You know, if you have been watching the previous live streams, I've been talking a lot about how panic can very quickly set into the market and send the market dropping a lot lower. And I've already shown you this in the previous video, but I want to point it out once more. Bitcoin traded at the $46,000 level on the 15th of February, and it took Bitcoin 6.5 days to rise up to the all-time high. And then to erase all of that progress, it took Bitcoin only 19 hours or nearly 2 days. So no matter where you measure this drop by, it took Bitcoin way less time to crash than it took Bitcoin to rise. And the reason for that, it's absolutely undeniable. We have crystal clear proof here. Even though there are big players dumping Bitcoin, it's not just the big players that are crashing the market. Because what you need to keep in mind is that if someone has a lot of Bitcoin, it means they have a lot of money, and people with a lot of money are typically not operating dumb money. You know, dumb money is not big money. Dumb money